in my life for a good 9 years, 10-year period. So they would be involved because I would get unwell, and so things will happen, and back and forth, back and forth. And so they will always refer me to some kind of family therapy, family counseling. So, then I would start to do individual counseling. So it started to bring some awareness, and what's really going on, because I never understood that all of this was connected. And over time, I started to read and hear people talk about trauma and the effects and the impacts, stuff like that. I remember there was a time I had attempted to take myself away, take my life, was several times prior. But this particular time, I remember from that, it caused the same social services to get involved. And I remember it was so horrific that I was told, if anything happened again, we're going to take the children. And I believe that was a wake-up call to start properly healing myself, because I love my children. I've always loved them. I never not wanted them. So for them, I was willing to do whatever it takes. So I started to do CBD therapy, and I remember my mother came up in it a lot, but still there was no connection. No one understood what I was saying, because it was all peace, 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 peace. And also I believe my then partner, he somewhat presented a lot similar to my mom, and so I felt like I was dealing with the same person all over again. So I couldn't have a peace. I was very unhappy, so I would still hide, I would smoke, I would drink, stuff like that. From that, I remember learning how to sit with what I felt. I had severe anxiety, so I was always on edge. So by the time, some people would say on a scale of 1 to 10, but I was always at 10. So the minute something happened, I'm out, I'm ready, I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm angry, I'm aggressive, I'm violent, as they would say, but just didn't understand. So she started telling me to sit with how I'm feeling and let it pass. But still, that after a certain time, I learned that technique and I started to sit with it. But it still didn't fully bring clarity. But I remember I started getting dreams and visions, and I tried to connect or get closer to God in order to help me. I wanted to change. I needed to figure out what was wrong with me. And I remember just going in little courses, more reading, just listening to different things on the social media when people talking about trauma. No, what is this trauma? Stuff like that. For years, I started to buy books. One of my favorite is Nurturing Resilience. I started to connect because I realized that trauma is not in the mind. It's more so in the body. So all those years of can't cry, can't express self, all of those being beaten, not being heard, not being loved, no kindness, no gentleness, all of those damage the organs in the body. And so you're in a frozen state. Because initially my outlook was mental health. I saw that I was mentally unwell, not understanding that wasn't the problem. It was the trauma that was presenting or coming out from that aspect. And so I remember so that was one of my favorite books. Then eventually I started to work in mental health recovery. So that kind of helped me to swing a bit deeper, not only just mental health on surface, but I started to understand the different symptoms, the different diagnoses. And as I worked in that environment, I'm then observing others. There were similarities between us, even though the stories weren't the same. And I start learning about the somatic and about the nervous system and understanding how different organs holds trauma and how it plays out in our everyday life, in our health, in how we respond and relate. I stopped being ashamed. I stopped worrying about what other people think about me. And also, there was one thing I gathered in all of what I learned was self-compassion. So even if it's the worst situation, I'm learning to say, hey, Viv, you're gonna be okay, girl. You've got this. You know, I love you. I learned to start saying I love myself. I learned to be kind to myself. I had a journal that when I was unwell, I would write things, horrible things about myself. And I remember when I started to heal, I would go to that journal and I would cross out all the thing that I said negative, and I start to replace them. Underneath it, I would write some nice things about myself, and I would start look in the mirror where I used to say, I hate you. I start to look and I say, hey, you know how beautiful you are. I love you. You know, you're such a special person. So I begin to say things to myself that I would have wanted somebody else to say to me and didn't got it. I would say I'm definitely successful because I'm able to be 100 times over better mom than I was raised with, you know. And also my children, they too can say, Mom, you know, you come a long way. They were a part of the journey. I was that person who was judged. I was misunderstood. And so it doesn't matter. I've said it to women who's around and about me. It doesn't matter what you tell me. You can never get me to look down on you. I will always help you up. And if I can't do anything, just know that I'm here for you. If you or anyone is experiencing any kind of trauma, pain, abuse, do not keep silent. Do not keep it to yourself because it doesn't get any better on your own. Find someone you can trust and speak to them. If you don't know anyone you can trust, find a stranger, talk to them and leave. Someone told me about that story years ago. If you have trouble, just find somebody in a park, just say everything you want to say because you don't know them, and then you can leave. But make sure you don't keep it to yourself because keeping it to yourself doesn't help. And also, you are not alone. I can tell you there is a tribe out there waiting to just celebrate you and empower you, encourage you, and just vibe with you. You know, you are more loved, more wanted, more desired than you can ever know. You are special. You are unique.